Hello, everybody. Welcome into Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today, we have a big show. We are going to go over all the news from all around the world of sports, including the NBA signing a brand new media rights deal with Amazon that will move it off of TNT. We'll talk about the implications of that, as well as the breakdown of what is expected to be on Amazon with the entirety of the 11-year, $76 billion deal being signed. Then we'll move into the world of football quickly, taking a little bit of a look at Hassan Reddick. I know we did some holdout talk yesterday, but he's one that we weren't able to get to due to time. He is an interesting situation, being traded to the Jets and now holding out, looking for a contract, which we'll talk about all of that. Then we'll do a quick stop into baseball, talking about the no-hitter that was thrown today by Dylan Cease of the Padres, no-hitting the Washington Nationals. We'll talk about that performance, what the Padres are doing, and a quick look at the NL wildcard race as well. And then we're going to finish off our show with the LA Rams. Excuse me, we did the Seahawks yesterday. We're going to do a preview of the LA Rams schedule as well as a review of what their offseason was like, give them a grade and a rating. But before we get into any of that, remember that if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Leave a tip or donation with a message in it. That message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate all of you guys for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Thursday afternoon. But like I was saying, we are going to start off our show here today with the breaking news from yesterday's show, the NBA signing a brand new 11-year, $76 billion with a B dollar media rights deal with Amazon. And the big headline with this is they are choosing Amazon over TNT. TNT, the home of Inside the NBA, with Shaq and Charles Barkley and Kenny the Jet and Ernie Johnson. All of those guys, they only have one more season left together. One of the biggest sports media shows in the entirety of the sports media sphere. One of the biggest sports shows out there. It is unfortunate, but that's just business sometimes. And there's conflicting reports here, right? The reports originally were, hey, if TNT matches the offer, we'll go. Then there was a report that TNT did match the offer from Amazon. Adam Silver came out yesterday and said that they didn't. So there are some conflicting reports right there. I'm not sure exactly which side is telling the truth there, because it's really a he said, she said kind of situation. But they're going to continue their partnership with Disney, ESPN, ABC, as well as NBC gets in on the action. NBC, the NBA is returning to NBC, so they swapped out the NHL on NBC for the NBA. Probably a good thing for making some money there, but the big story of this media rights deal is the fact that TNT is now out. TNT that has hosted, many huge NBA games for a very long time, is officially out of the game here. And we'll see how much that actually affects the landscape of the NBA. I don't honestly think it's going to be too big of a deal, but there is something that I am concerned about, and it's the growing the growing presence of streaming in these sports, right? And it's not necessarily a bad thing, as opposed to paying for cable, now you pay for streaming, but to get sports especially, it's tough, right? And these media rights deals, they get, that's just how it's going to be. Amazon has the NFL. Amazon has Amazon has plenty of soccer around the world. It has, now the NBA as well. But when it's split up like this all over the place, it makes it really hard for people to watch these games. And maybe that's a personal concern more than anything. But this is the future of media, right? The future of media is going to streaming away from these cable networks, and that is what we're seeing with the NFL signing deals with Netflix, with the NFL signing deals with Amazon Prime, with the NFL hosting games on Peacock. Now the NBA joining them, all these massive soccer leagues around the world having deals with these streaming platforms. This is nothing new. I mean, heck, MLB baseball has its deal with Apple TV, Apple TV Plus. Another streaming service right there. This is just the future of it, and I think the NBA sensed that. I think Turner was kind of a little hesitant to get back into it, and even if they did end up matching the offer, I don't think that the NBA was gonna shun Amazon. Maybe they did match the offer, and then Amazon upped, because that seems like something Amazon might do. But this is just the way the sports media is heading, and it's going to be interesting to see the future, how far this road goes, how far we can get down this road before there's no more sports on cable at all. How spread thin it might get, we'll see. But the NBA signs a new deal. This kicks in 2025. So the new schedule, from what is being reported, we're looking at some Friday games being on Amazon Prime, some Saturday games, Thursday doubleheaders after Thursday Night Football is done, and then they're also going to take over the League Pass. Amazon Prime is, you know, there's a, it's not too much, so it's not going to be like, oh, you can miss it. But TNT Sports, they said, like I said, he said, she said, they said they matched the Amazon offer, as they have a contractual right to do so. Do not believe and do not believe the NBA can reject it. So some there is still some stuff that might come out about it. It says they're going to take appropriate actions. So I don't know if that means they're going to sue or try to attempt to force the NBA's hand to get back into the business here. But there is a good amount. There's still a couple questions floating around in the air here. So let me know what you think of this deal. I think overall it's going to be probably better for the NBA in the long term to get a stake in the streaming platform. But it does suck. It really sucks that Inside the NBA is going away. That was one of the best shows in sports media right now. But anyway, in our next segment, we're going to move out of the business of sports into, I guess, more business of sports. Maybe a little more player centric. Talking about some holdouts at training camp. Hassan Reddick is an interesting one we didn't get to yesterday. He was traded to the Jets and is now holding out, looking for a new contract. We'll talk about the whole saga and everything that is going on with him and the New York Jets. So stick around for that. We'll be right back here on Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. Welcome back to Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jeremy Lapidus. If you are just tuning in, we've just done a brief summary of the new NBA media rights deal, an 11-year, 76, billion dollar deal signed by the NBA, Amazon, Disney, and NBC to get the new NBA rights, basically kicking out Warner Bros. And TNT or Turner Networks, replacing them with Amazon and NBC. In this segment, we're going to talk all about Hassan Reddick and his holdout situation with the New York Jets. He was traded to the New York Jets earlier this offseason for a conditional third-round pick. Already was, out there that he wanted a new contract. Already was out there that he was probably going to hold out for a new contract, but the Jets and their ownership had apparently not heard that memo. So we'll get into all of the implications of this in just a second. But before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Leave a tip or donation with a message in it. That message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, all you have to do is throw that in the chat, throw it in the comments. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate all of you guys for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a rainy Thursday afternoon. But like I was saying, we are going to get into Hassan Reddick here. Hassan Reddick has an interesting story, right? Obviously traded from the Eagles to the Jets this offseason for a conditional 2026 third. He is a very good pass rusher. He had signed a 3-year, $54 million extension 2 years ago now, so he's entering his last year of his deal, and he very openly had talked about wanting a new deal. And, Philadelphia did not want to give him that deal, so they went and traded him to the Jets. And if you're the Jets in that situation, and you know very publicly that Hassan Reddick wants a new deal, and you still go trade for him, what are you doing not giving him a deal? Right? What are you doing sitting here? What is Joe Douglas thinking? Saying, hey, there's this guy, talented pass rusher. We need a talented pass rusher. He wants a new deal. Let's trade for him. We'll figure it out later. He's traded. He's out of Philly. Maybe he'll play 1 year and prove it to us. No, he wants a deal. And we're seeing that here now. I'm not sure how enthusiastic the Jets are to be giving Hassan Reddick a deal right now. I know they traded for him, and theoretically that should mean he will get a deal, but there's no guarantee, especially with the way that it seemingly has been going so far for the Jets and Hassan Reddick in contract talks. There hasn't seemed to be too much momentum out there. Now, Hassan Reddick is a guy that will hold out. If he'll hold out for the whole season, who knows? I doubt that he'll do that. But this is a guy that the Jets obviously wanted. They obviously wanted him on the team because they went and made this trade for him, right? This is a big move. Again, giving up a third-round pick, it isn't the end of the world if you don't get anything in return, but it's not like it's a nothing pick to throw away. This is a day 2 pick. You can get a lot of great guys in the third round, as we've seen from recent drafts. But what the Jets are doing with Hassan Reddick is just kind of head scratching to me, right? This is a move. This is, like I said before, something that everybody knew about. The fact that Hassan Reddick wanted a new contract. This is, it's the reason why the Eagles traded. He wanted a contract. He overperformed the contract he had. This is what Howie Roseman said in April. He said he outperformed his contract. He wanted market value. We weren't going to offer him that. So they traded him to the Jets here, right? It just does not make a lot of sense why the Jets didn't immediately start working on a contract with him if they thought that he'd be okay with just playing out 1 more year. Because no, he wants that deal, and he wants it bad. But it is a very it's a delicate situation. I expect them to get it figured out, but this is the Jets. They've got a lot of things they have to work out. We have no idea what is actually going on in that Jets organization. They're still, I guess, reintroducing Aaron Rodgers after he skips a lot of the voluntary stuff, the mandatory mini camps before the actual training camp gets underway. They've got a lot of new receivers and weapons. It's a lot of stuff to get together with a new team. And I expect them to get a deal done with Hassan Reddick. Probably not market resetting money, but just market level money for a guy like him, who's who has been overperforming his contract, right? So he's not there. He's in the final year of $15 million a year. He's going to look for a raise there. I'm not sure if the Jets are the team that's going to give it to him. So we'll see what ends up happening there. But anyway, in our next segment, we're going to take a quick break from football. We're going to talk a little bit about baseball. Dylan Cease of the San Diego Padres threw a no-hitter, just the second of the year today, the second time in franchise history that he threw a no that someone on the Padres has thrown a no-hitter. First one ever for Dylan Cease, and the second time ever the Nats have been no-hit. That's 2 years in a row now for them, though. So we'll talk all about that and more coming up next here on Sports by GSMC Podcast Network.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube. Absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel. Except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube.
Welcome back to Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jeremy Lapidus. If you were just tuning in, we just finished talking about Hassan Reddick, his contract situation as he continues to hold out from the New York Jets, a situation that probably should have been taken care of before it got to the holdout process. We also talked about the new NBA media rights deal signed by the NBA with Amazon, Disney, and NBC Universal. 11 years, $76 billion to basically get Turner and Warner Bros. Out of there. But in this segment, we're going to take a quick break from football before diving back into it to close out our show. In this segment, we are going to talk about Dylan Cease and the Padres throwing a no-hitter today. But before we get into that, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Leave a tip or donation with a message in it. That message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to add, go and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate all of you guys for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Thursday afternoon. But like I was saying, we are going to get into some breaking baseball news as Dylan Cease throws a no-hitter in D.C. against the Washington Nationals today. It's just the second no-hitter of the season, which is kind of low for how late it is in the season. Usually we have a couple of no-hitters. Only 2 so far. That shows, I guess, how much the bats have kind of exploded this season. But Dylan Cease gets his first career no-hitter. He's been really close a couple of times before. Back in 2022, he was 1 out away, but took a no-hitter into the bottom of the ninth inning, got into the ninth inning, got 2 outs in that inning, and was was unable to complete it. They gave up a hit with 2 outs in the ninth. He finally gets his first career no hitter, the second one of the season, following up Ronel Blanco's for the Houston Astros all the way back in like in the second series of the season for the Astros. This is the second ever no hitter thrown by a Padres pitcher. First one was by Joe Musgrave just a couple of seasons ago. This is also just the second time that the Nationals have ever been no hit in their short existence. The first time came last year against the Phillies. But this was just a dominant game for Dylan Cease. The Padres seem to have the Nationals number at least this season. Back before the All-Star break, they played a series, and it kind of sent the Nationals to a certain selling point after they got swept there. They sweep them again. Dylan Cease, again, 114 pitches, incredibly efficient through 9. 9 strikeouts, 3 walks. He was still throwing gas in the ninth inning. As Jeff Passan reports, he threw a 100-mile-per-hour fastball in the ninth inning. That is insane that he had that kind of gas. We've seen a lot of these games. A lot of these games go deep, and especially with the way that bullpens are being managed nowadays, especially with the way that, numbers are saying don't let your pitcher go past 100. Only throwing 114 in a no-hitter is incredible. That's just really efficient pitching right there, and I'm sure a lot of that has to do with the amount of soft contact he was generating from swings. Not to say that he wasn't striking guys out, because he did have those 9 strikeouts, which is insane. Only 3 walks, so that's how you keep that pitch count down. But we've seen stuff like this, and not to take away from Dylan Cease's accomplishment, it is crazy that he threw a no-hitter. We've seen a lot of situations where pitchers, starters, have no-hitters heading deep into games, and they hit that pitch count of 90, 95 at the end of the inning, 99, about to hit 100 pitches, and then they get pulled. Specifically, this has happened 2 or 3 times so far with Paul Skeens and the Pirates. So it's rare to see a no-hitter like this nowadays, and it's exciting. This again takes, the innings limit is part of it. You want to preserve players' arms, and I understand that. I really do. But at a certain point, when a player has a no-hitter, and this is going to sound very old school of me, you got to keep him in. I know that and this is kind of complaining about analytics more than anything. And I understand analytics. They're great, they're important. They help players stay, safe and healthy for longer, and it's better for their careers, but we've had potential no-hitters taken away from Paul Skeens twice this season. It's one of those things that I don't love. Pitch count is important. You only got one arm. You don't want to throw it out. And I've seen, as a Nationals fan, so this came against my team. I've seen the effects of pitchers' arms being thrown out. Davey Martinez is not very good at managing a bullpen. Steven Strasburg is someone that comes to mind. Probably would have been a for sure Hall of Famer if he hadn't had his injuries. Unable to pitch, and we've seen how that affects him now off the field. His arm's basically gone, which sucks. But, we've seen stuff like this before, and I know why it's important, but it's one of those things, old man yelling at a cloud situation, where I look at it and I say, ugh. But what if we could just let these guys go and play? So it's really cool that Dylan Cease gets a no-hitter, letting him go over 100 pitches, save the bullpen. They've gone deep in the last couple games. Matt Waldron went 6 innings after starting off slow, but the Padres, as the race continues in the MLB, especially in the NL wildcard race, these are going to be important games to win. Not that the Nationals are really super threatening in that race, but it's not like they're out of it either. We've talked a lot about how bunched up it is in the middle for the wild card. San Diego with this win today secures that third wild card spot. The Braves are up there, 1.5 games up on the Mets, who are just you know, who are tied with the Padres actually for that second wild card spot. So they have the second and third. The Cardinals half a game back of them. The Pirates game and a half. The Diamondbacks 1 game back. There's all these teams that are right in the mix there to get this. So these are important games to win. And whenever you can throw a no hitter as well in there, it makes it all the more special. So congratulations to the Padres. Congratulations to Dylan Cease. It's always fun when we see moments like this happen in the MLB. I love me some pitching games, so this is a lot of fun to watch. But anyway, we are going to move on, and in our next 2 segments, we're going to go all in on the Los Angeles Rams. We're going to do a deep dive into their offseason, everything that they did, how it affected them, and how it prepared them for this upcoming season. And then we're going to go game by game, take a look at everything that they take a look at every single game, give you a record at the end as well. So stick around for that. We'll be right back here on Sports by GSMC Podcast Network.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube. Absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Welcome back to Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. If you are just tuning in, we've talked about Dylan Cease throwing a no-hitter, just the second one in the MLB this season. The first in the career of Dylan Cease. He's been so good recently. I forgot this stat earlier. In his last 3 starts, he's only given up 2 hits in his last 3 starts. He's been incredible over the last, ever since, he's been incredible this whole season. But Dylan Cease throws the second no-hitter of the MLB season, first of his career, second ever for the Padres. Congratulations to him as they take out the Nationals today. But we also talked about the NBA signing a new media rights deal with Amazon. We talked about how that is ending their deal with Turner. No more inside the NBA. Lots of mixed feelings about that. And we talked about Hassan Reddick and his situation with the Jets. He was very openly looking to get a new contract before being traded to the Jets from the Eagles. And the Jets seem to have ignored that whole situation. And now he is holding out. So we'll see if the Jets eventually give him that contract. But we are going to finish. We're going to continue our series here of previewing every single NFL team as we head into the season. We've got the Los Angeles Rams today. We're going to go over their season, their off season, and then go game by game and give them a record prediction. But before we do all of that, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Leave a tip or donation with a message in it. That message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to add, go ahead and throw that in the chat, throw that in the comments. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate all of you guys for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Thursday afternoon. But like I was saying, we are going to get into the Los Angeles Rams here today. The Los Angeles Rams off-season review. We'll start off with that. And they, again, much like everyone else in the NFC West, have had a kind of quiet off-season. We'll start off with their additions. They had a couple of additions, not too many huge ones. They did add 2 starters on the defensive end, though, those being safety Cam Curl, as well as cornerback Tre'Davious White. And Tre'Davious White is the bigger name there. They also added new backup quarterback Jimmy G, Jonah Jackson, brought in Colby Parkinson as well. So this is going to be, a team that is basically the same as the team that made the playoffs last year, sneaking in. Those are the additions there. Obviously, the big subtraction for them is Aaron Donald, who retired at the beginning of this whole offseason, which sucks. You lose one of the best defenders of all time. In the draft, you're not going to be able to replace him with one guy. But in the draft, you go out and you get Jared Verse, pair him up with, Ernest Jones, Brandon Fisk, Kobe Turner on the inside. You might be able to get the combination of a Aaron Donald. That is going to be a huge loss, but I do like what they've done to help fix the secondary. Obviously, going out and getting Trey White from the Bills after he gets cut, that's a huge add. If he can stay healthy, he's one of the best corners in the game, as well as Cam Curl, who's kind of underrated, coming over from Washington. He's a hard hitter. He's good in coverage. I like Cam Curl a lot, and I really like that signing there. Outside of that, the offense is pretty much the same. You've still got Matt Stafford at QB, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua patrolling wide receiver, bringing back Demarcus Robinson, still have Tutu Atwell as well, Tyler Higbee. You improve the offensive line just a little bit, bringing in Jonah Jackson to be your starting left guard. It's never a bad idea to improve your offensive line, obviously. But then we get to the draft picks, and I kind of teased it a little bit. Their first-round draft pick, Jared Verse, and their second-round draft pick, Brandon Fisk, both are going to be starters on the defense, at least as of the unofficial depth chart that's out for the Rams right now. You get a defensive tackle and an edge rusher coming out of the same team in Florida State in your first 2 rounds. It is going to be it's always cool when you have teammates come and play together in the NFL, and those two continuing their pass rushing dominance from FSU last year, where Jared Verse had 12 and a half tackles for loss, 9 sacks, and Brandon Fisk up the middle had 6 sacks and 9 tackles for loss. So they're going to be a fun little duo to deal with in LA. The other pick that I really like is the round 3 pick of Blake Corum, the running back out of Michigan. I really do like this pick. I know that the Rams, if you look at their running back room, currently is led by Kyron Williams. They were going through Cam Akers last season. He eventually did get cut from the team. Kyron Williams stepped up. I don't love Kyron Williams though, and this is a personal thing. I like Blake Corum a lot more, and I think we're gonna be able to see Kyron Williams Blake Corum split, and maybe eventually going more towards the rookie. It's just a personal thing. Again, Kyron Williams, if you're looking at the numbers, there's no reason not to believe that he's going to continue what he did last season. He was a very efficient, very effective runner last year. But, I really do like the pick of Blake Corum. You know, uh, bringing him in to at least save get a guy that can spell Kyron Williams. I mean, you look at a guy that ran for 1,100 yards last season, third leading rusher in the NFL, averaging 5 yards a carry in Kyron Williams. There's no reason to say, oh, he won't be able to repeat his success, especially at just age 23. He'll turn 24 actually in just about a month. So in his age 24 season, there's no reason not to believe that Kyron Williams won't be able to keep it up. But adding Blake Corum, who was one of the best running backs has been one of the best running backs in all of college football for a while with the Michigan Wolverines. Obviously, a very run heavy offense over there, leaving the other LA coach now. In Harbaugh over there for the Rams. And I do really like that pick. They also picked up Boston Scott, my self-proclaimed nemesis, the giant killer over there. He's going to be the third string running back. That one doesn't really matter at all, but I do really like their draft class. I love what they were able to do with, finally getting a first round pick. It's been almost 10 years since they had that first round pick, and I really like what the Rams did with their draft class. As we get deeper into the draft, I mean, getting some offensive line depth, getting some wide receiver depth. I like what they did. Some high upside picks in Bo Limmer and Jordan Whittington. Excuse me. I really do like what they did there. So I'm a big fan of their draft. Obviously, losing Aaron Donald puts a damper on your offseason. And if he had stayed as opposed to retiring, I do believe I would have given their offseason a solid B plus, maybe an A minus. But because unfortunately Aaron Donald is no longer a part of the team, at least as of our live stream here on Thursday, July 25th, I'm forced to give this a B minus. Again, I do think that they improved as much as they possibly could, but losing a first ballot Hall of Famer, one of, if not the best defensive player in the history of the NFL, up there with the likes of Lawrence Taylor and J.J. Watt, up there with those guys as far as was the most decorated defensive players of all time. It's impossible to replace a guy like that. So because of that, I'm knocking them a full letter grade. I'm giving them a B minus for their offseason. Again, nothing that they could really control. Everything that they control, I think they did a good job in making the improvements that they needed to make. But because Aaron Donald retired, I have to knock them at least a couple of points. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What grade would you give the Rams for their offseason? We're going to do a quick break, and then we're going to go and break down the Rams schedule game by game, go through all 18 weeks, let you know whether or not I think they're going to make the playoffs. So stick around for that. After this short break, we'll be right back here on Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. Welcome back to Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. If you are just tuning in, we've just finished giving the LA Rams a grade for their offseason, which I thought was really solid. It wasn't like the best offseason in the entire NFL, but they did a lot of smaller moves and really killed it, low-key kind of killed it in the draft. With their first three picks in the NFL draft. I gave them a B minus, if only because of Aaron Donald retiring, which is a big loss for them. But anyway, I did think that they had a really solid offseason outside with the stuff that they could control, at least. In this segment, we're going to finish off our show going through a record prediction, game by game, do a prediction for every single game, all 18 weeks of the NFL season for the Los Angeles Rams. But before we get into that, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Leave a tip or donation with a message in it. That message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, or everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate every single one of you guys for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Thursday afternoon. But like I was saying, we are going to get into the LA Rams, do a deep dive into their schedule, a season preview, give them a record so far through the almost halfway through the NFL that we've predicted. And just in the NFC West so far, the 49ers, I have given a 13-4 record. I've given the Seahawks a 7-10 record, although there's usually a plus or minus 2 around all of these so far. Again, I have the Eagles winning. We've gone through the NFC East, the NFC South. We're working our way through the NFC West, and we'll do a full recap here real quick. I have the Eagles winning the NFC East, going 11-6. The Cowboys 10-7, sneaking into a wild card spot. I have the Commanders third in the NFC East, going 7-10 with new quarterback Jaden Daniels, and the Giants fourth in that division, as much as that hurts me to say, at 6-11, missing out on the playoffs. In the NFC South, I have the Falcons winning that division. I was a little low on the Falcons. There's probably a couple games I could go the other way on, but I have them going 8-9 right now. I wouldn't be surprised if they went like 11-6 though. So I have them winning that division at 8-9. I have the Buccaneers 7-10 in second in that division. The Saints at 6-11, third, and the Panthers at 5-12. We already went over the first half of the NFC West. Now we'll get into the Rams here. For the Rams, I have, in week 1, tough matchup. Same matchup that got them eliminated in the playoffs in Detroit, a rematch of Goff and Stafford. The Rams are heading to Detroit to take on the Lions after Jared Goff gets a brand new extension this offseason. I'm going to give this game, just like it happened in the playoffs, to the Lions. I think the Lions made more drastic improvements, and while I do think that the Rams made improvements this offseason, they weren't able to win with Aaron Donald in the lineup, and I think not much has changed. That much has changed with the Lions, especially up front, that this will be the difference in the game. So I'm taking the Lions in week 1 as the Rams start off 0-1 on the year. Week 2, they take on the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona. I'm going to give the Rams a win here. I think this Cardinals team is going to be better than a lot of people think. I do think that some of these division games are tough, and I think the Rams are going to be able to bounce back off of a week 1 loss. I don't have them starting 0-2, 1-1 after 2 weeks. Heading into week 3, the 49ers come into town. Their first home game. I have the Rams taking care of business here. Again, that's definitely an upset there, but I do definitely have I do have a division game. The Rams have had the 49ers numbers a lot this season, in seasons past. I'm going to give the Rams a win here over the San Francisco 49ers in week 3. So heading into a week 4 matchup in Chicago against the Bears, the Rams are 2-1. Versus the Bears in Chicago, I'm going to give them a loss here. Coming off a big win at home against the San Francisco 49ers, I think they're going to come down a little bit too hard against a hungry young Bears team that I think is also going to be really good. Again, we talked about it yesterday when we were talking about the Seahawks. This schedule that the NFC West has to play is not easy, taking on the AFC East and the NFC North, as well as the Rams playing a second place schedule after going 10-7 and making the playoffs last season. So I have them losing to the Bears here in week 4. Week 5, they take on the Packers. Again, they get this one back. I'm taking the Rams in LA over Jordan Love and the Packers as they head into their bye week, an early bye week for the Rams, and we'll see how that affects them as we get later on in the season. Again, not an easy schedule, but week 6 bye, they enter the bye at 3-2. Coming directly off the bye, they get the Las Vegas Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders taking on the Los Angeles Rams. This is in LA. I'm taking the Rams to beat the Raiders. I don't know what the quarterback situation will be with the Raiders. My headcanon is Gardner Minshew. I think that's a better fit for them, but that might change as time goes on here. I'm taking the Rams to win this game, improving to 4-2 in week 7. Week 8 against the Vikings. Probably one of the last easy games. Like I said, this is a tough schedule, especially down the stretch. They get the Vikings in week 8. JJ McCarthy or Sam Darnold at quarterback. I am going to take the Rams here. I like the matchup with the defense against the Vikings, especially if Trey White can be healthy. He might be able to help lock down Justin Jefferson a little bit. So after 8 weeks in the NFL season, they're 5-2 right now. A great start for the Rams. Then they get a division matchup against the Seahawks. That is in Seattle. In these division matchups, it's always tough to predict. I'm going to give the Seahawks this one before flying all the way before the Dolphins have to fly all the way cross country to take on the Rams in week 10. I do really like this Dolphins team. I believe Tua will be able to repeat his performance, and even if he isn't, if they just get a replacement level quarterback to be able to run that offense smart and quick, I think they will be just fine. So I'm taking the Dolphins here in week 10. And through 10 weeks of the NFL schedule here now, the Rams, after a week 6 bye, are 5-4. 5-4 after 10 weeks. And here we get to a part of the schedule that is kind of back and forth. You get easy, hard, kind of easy, hard games rotating. Start off against the Patriots, then you get the Eagles, the Saints, the Bills, the Niners, the Jets, which that is a brutal 3-game stretch for any team, especially down the stretch in weeks 14, 15, 16, before finishing off the season with 2 division games. Again, really tough down the stretch those last 5 weeks with the Cardinals and the Seahawks. But starting off against the Patriots in week 11, I'm giving them a win. I'm giving them a win here against the Patriots. I do think the Patriots are going to be improved, but I think the Rams are just a better team right now overall. Heading into the last couple of games, and like I said, this is where the schedule starts to get really brutal. You have a couple of games where you can take a breath, but this schedule gets really brutal against the Eagles. I have the Eagles taking care of business against the Rams. Adding Saquon Barkley is going to put them over the top. I love that signing for the Eagles. The Saints are a team I think they can win. It is in New Orleans, but that's one of the last kind of respites that they get for the rest of the schedule. Then I got the Bills, 49ers, and Jets. And that's an 0-3 stretch right there. They lose 3 straight, brutal. Heading into that stretch, they were sitting at 7-5, 5 games left to go. they get a brutal stretch down. They get brutal schedule down the stretch. Those 3 games might throw them completely out of playoff contention. We will see how the rest of the NFC plays out. But those 3 games in week 14, 15, and 16, I have them losing. The Bills are at home. The Niners and the Jets are on the road. So heading into week 17, the Rams are sitting at 7-8, not out of a playoff spot, but this is a couple of must-win games against 2 tough division opponents. The Cardinals, I have them taking care of business here. This is a must-win game for them, and I think the Cardinals will be out of playoff contention by that point. So it's going to be more to the Rams here. And the Seahawks. I think this game between the Seahawks and the Rams might be for that last wild card spot. I'm going to give this one to the Rams. They take care of business. I have them sneaking into the playoffs here. That final wild card spot at 9-8 on the season. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Again, I thought they had a solid offseason. It's a tough schedule. Going 9-8 in the NFC should be enough to get you into the playoffs, depending on tiebreakers. But I do think the Rams will sneak into one of those final 3 wild card spot. But anyway, thank you everybody so much for tuning in to today's episode of Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I've been your host, Jeremy Lapidus. In tomorrow's episode, we're going to finish up the NFC West, go over the Cardinal schedule, do our MLB power rankings, as well as any other major breaking news happening from around the world of sports. So I will see you tomorrow for all of that and more. Thank you everybody for watching, and I will see you then. Bye-bye.